Okay, so this last video is basically to show you how to draw the brachial plexus. Okay, the brachial plexus is actually far more complicated to draw. I usually don't ask students to draw the brachial plexus. You should know how to draw the lumbosacral plexus. However, learning how to draw the brachial plexus will actually help you on your test, because if you can draw it on your test, then it'll help you answer some of the multiple choice questions. So we're going to get started with going back and thinking about, okay, the limb is made from 6 segments. So the upper limb is also going to be made from 6 segments. These segments are going to be C4, C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. Perfect, because actually the brachial plexus is those specific segments, okay? So the brachial plexus is actually not as easy as lumbosacral plexus. It's not like, oh, this is perfect. You know, we have 4 nerves and we're just going to divide our 6 segments 3 times, or really divide our 6 segments twice to get 12 things. It's not this easy, okay? It's much more complicated. The brachial plexus is going to have 5 nerves. So anytime it's an odd number, it always makes it much more complicated. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our 6 ventral rami. Okay. Our ventral rami are going to be woven together to end up helping us create 3 trunks. And then those 3 trunks, so basically we reassemble these 6 segments into 3 trunks. So you want to have a little bit of a segment in almost every place, but I'm going to show you how to make it a little bit easier. Okay. And then we're going to have 6 divisions. The 6 divisions. Yeah, 6 divisions. And those 6 divisions are actually the 6 parts that create the dorsal and the ventral portions, okay? So either going to the back or to the front of the arm. Those 6 divisions are going to create 3 cords. And then the 3 cords recombine into 5 nerves. See why it's more complicated, okay? This is why I don't expect you to draw it, but if you can draw this out on your test and follow where these segments go, it's going to help you a little bit understand a couple of things. I'm going to try to color code this, but unfortunately, I don't have that many colors, and I'm going to try not to use the lumbosacral plexus colors so you don't get confused. I at least won't use them for my 5 named nerves. Okay, I've done this before in another class and people just remembered red and they don't remember what red meant. Was that red tibial or red another nerve? So don't do that. We're going to leave some of the other colors here that we didn't use last time for our 5 named nerves. So let's start with, we're going to have our 6 ventral rami becoming 3 trunks. What you're going to see is C4, C5, and C6 come together, and when they come together, they're going to make 1 trunk, and this is called the superior trunk. Okay, like that. C7 is going to be solo, and this becomes the middle trunk. And this is not entirely true. There will be some innervations overlapping here. Sorry, I got distracted. There will be some innervation overlapping here, but if you follow this, it actually makes it a lot easier. So for this, for brachial plexus, I don't require you guys to remember like which nerve is which of the segments because it's much more difficult. And then you're going to see C8 and T1, they come together and this creates an inferior trunk. Okay, so you at least should know there's 3 trunks: superior, middle, and inferior. And then we're going to divide these into dorsal and into ventral. So the superior, the middle, and inferior have to divide into dorsal and ventral divisions specifically. And this is where we're going to get our 6 divisions, because we have 3 trunks divided by into 2 gives us 6. And you're thinking, wait, 3 divided by 2 is not 6. But we're dividing them, creating basically 3 and 3, and that's 6. So we're going to see that our superior trunk has to go dorsal. Okay. Our middle has to come up dorsal, and our inferior has to come up dorsal, like that. So one of our divisions is called the dorsal division, and it has three portions to it. Then the other part, I'm going to make this red color. We're going to see superior has to divide and come like this. Let me do that again, sorry. So superior has to come down and come like this. Middle is also going to contribute, and inferior also contributes to, guess what? The ventral division. Okay, so we should have a dorsal division and we should have a ventral division. So essentially you're going to have three portions that create the dorsal divisions and three portions that create the ventral divisions. And then that's going to lead us into three chords. And I know this is really weird, like how the hell do you go from dorsal to ventral into three different things? Well, it's going to be a little bit complicated here, but what you're going to notice is that dorsal is just going to keep continuing and the chord becomes posterior. Just like that. So all three dorsal divisions become the posterior chord. The ventral divisions are going to divide into two chords. And this is how I get my three chords. So we're going to see that our ventral division is going to divide like this and become a lateral chord. And it's going to divide like this, and guess what? It's going to become the anterior chord. I'm sorry, the medial chord. What I'm thinking, medial. So here's the way you think about it. One set of divisions goes posterior, and the other set of divisions are going to go anterior. When they go anterior, they split into medial and lateral sections, okay, or chords in this case. So this is where it becomes really sort of good to know this. The posterior chord is going to lead to two nerves. One is axillary. And the other one, I'm going to make in yellow, I really apologize for this color, is radial. Okay, I apologize for the color, but that's the color I use in my PowerPoint. So I try to be as consistent as possible. So there's two of our five nerves. We're going to see that these nerves go posterior, so they should innervate extensors of the arm. We're going to see later on when we look at muscles, axillary innervates three important muscles. One is the triceps, right there. So all of these three muscles, triceps, I'm sorry, that's the deltoid. It's a little bit late. So we're going to see that axillary innervates the deltoid. It's going to innervate teres minor right here, and then also does triceps long head. And this muscle man is seriously weird. So I'm just kind of like fudging where I think some of these muscles basically are. Yeah, it's a little weird. Okay. The radial nerve goes posterior, so it's also going to innervate extensors. So we're talking about the rest of the triceps, so triceps lateral head right there. It's also going to do this muscle here called brachioradialis. And then anything that's going to go to the back of the forearm, so the back of the antebrachial, is all this stuff basically right here is going to do all that. So all there are extensors, okay? So why is it important that you can draw this? Because now you know the axillary and radial nerves go posterior and have to innervate extensors. So I don't have a whole lot of room, but you can say extensors. And this goes along with what we learned in lecture, how when we divide and we go dorsal and we go ventral with our ramus, is we're going to innervate extensors on the dorsal side if we're going dorsal, and flexors on the ventral side if we're going ventral. So here's where that comes to play, because the arm actually follows that. The leg doesn't, because you twisted your leg. Then we're going to see that going anterior, we're going to have lateral and medial chords, and the lateral and medial chords are going to create our three additional nerves. So the lateral chord is going to continue towards the lateral side. And when it continues towards the lateral side, it becomes something called the musculocutaneous nerve. But because this is anterior, this innervates flexors. In particular, it's going to innervate the flexors of the elbow. So like biceps brachii, brachialis will be like right about there, coracobrachialis, anything that helps us do this flexion part, okay? And that makes sense because those muscles are actually on the lateral side of our arm. They're actually going to be closer to the radius, which is thumb side. And then the medial cord is going to directly contribute to another nerve, which is going to go more medially, and this is called the ulnar nerve. Ah, perfect, because pinky side was ulna side, and that's medial, right? The ulna is medial and standard anatomical position. And it's going to help us with flexing. Actually, it's going to help us with flexing our little pinky. Then there's one more nerve. So the lateral and the medial cords are going to combine together. And I'm going to make this red, but it's in pink in my PowerPoint. So the medial cord and the lateral cord come together and they make the median nerve. Okay, so when you look at this on a dissection or on the cadaver, you should see a letter M. And I hope you see there's a letter M right there. Uppercase M. The middle part of the M is the median nerve, and it's also going to innervate flexors. So we already did musculocutaneous. Let's see what the median nerve innervates. The median nerve is going to innervate the flexors in the antebrachial region. Sorry. This is going to be really hard because these muscles are very, very small. So I don't expect you to know this now, but I will expect you to know this when we start to learn about this for muscles. So it innervates things like flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, all the muscles that help me flex my digits and flex my wrist. And then the ulnar nerve is going to innervate just a few muscles over here, including flexor carpi ulnaris, which is on the pinky side itself. Okay, so these are going to innervate flexors. What flexors, we're going to learn those later, but still, this map can kind of help you figure out where on the body you're actually going to provide those innervations. Remember, this is muscle innervation and skin innervation, the skin that overlays the muscle. So hopefully the brachial plexus doesn't look too bad. If I had more colors, I'd color code it a little bit better, but you can see how it's going to be useful to kind of understand how the dorsal division's going dorsal, supplied to the posterior cord and only to those nerves that go to the posterior aspect of the arm. Whereas the ventral divisions are going to come and create two cords, one that's on the lateral side of the arm, one's on the medial side of the arm. And then those cords are going to recombine to create three nerves that are going to innervate flexors. Okay. Trust me, if you could draw this, it'll help you a lot in understanding it. It'll help you a lot on some basic, not basic multiple choice, but some multiple choice, which would be like, you know, what cord or cords contribute to the creation of the axillary nerve? Posterior ones, because, you know, axillary is coming off posterior, axillary is innervating the posterior side. Okay. So hopefully that helps you. But basically at the end here, we not only drew a typical spinal nerve and saw what it's composed of, both sensory and motor axons. We put our spinal nerve on our cross section, which you guys should know how to draw for your test. And then we also learned how to draw lumbosacral plexus and understood its segmentation. You should know that for your test, how to draw it, how to label it properly, and what segments are important. We looked at the brachial plexus and its 5 nerves. Drawing it is a little more difficult. You should attempt to do that and learn and understand it for your test, but I usually don't ask you to draw that on a test. You should use that to help you figure out which nerves innervate which part of the upper limb, okay? This stuff here, let me highlight this. This stuff here comes back in muscles. So if you don't know it now, you have to know it later for muscles. you might as well start learning it now so that when you get to muscles, it's going to be much easier because muscles are going to be also very difficult, okay?